know why that's doing that.
Live streaming on YouTube right now. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Morning, Brandon.
Good morning.
We wake you up?
Nope,
You sure?
I'm sure.
Russ is in the waiting area. Oh, here he comes.
Kathy, let me know when you're ready to go and then I'll open the session.
Yes. It looks like Russ. I don't know what's going on. Ashley's also in there. Here she comes. Okay. I am ready.
Is Russ in here?
Yes.
Okay, so everybody's here?
Yes.
All right, so today is November 14th. The time is now 9:01 a.m. I'm going to open this council special session. The first discussion topic we have is review financing contract with Oregon Business Development Department for Semiconductor Industrial Land Loan for Castor Substation Design and Construction Project. And this is our first, I think, meeting on a Zoom where we're all on Zoom. So I think that it's probably important to say that it's important we don't talk over each other, but we all get an opportunity to speak. So if we can just be mindful of that, I think it'll help us facilitate this meeting. So John, are you going to take us through the whole context of what this is about, how we got here, and why we're looking at this?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And first, I'll start with this is something that we've been working on for over a year with Oregon Business through this called the SIL program, the Strategic Industrial Lands Readiness Program. Paul Vogel at Columbia Economic Team was instrumental in getting one of two grants. So this funding package here, and then there was another for transmission planning in the county. And our order of operations is planned to be that we have this site agreement with PGE to protect the city, and then we obligate this subsequently this agreement here. And PGE has been very, very slow in getting back to us. There's the project side and there's paperwork side. The project side has been working fairly well. We're getting a scope of work for the industrial pad. We know what they want, how it's all going to go down. We just need this site agreement to get this approved. So we had targeted May as being the deadline for these fundings to obligate. Just every month, we're tickling them to try to get them to be responsive, and they're not. And again, just on the contract side. So we're in a place where we're looking to redo the order of operations so we don't lose these funds. These funds are the state's looking at budget clawbacks, and they're looking at other projects that don't have obligated funding. They're just canceling their former agreements, and this project is very much at risk. There's several others around the state that have been clawed back over the last few weeks. And so the plan going forward is, if you agree, is to enter into this agreement and then not take any financial actions on it until we have the site agreement with PG in place.
And when we're talking about the funds, we're talking about specifically the just over $2 million for that fund.
Yeah, this is a financing agreement. It's 2,314,000. That is forgivable. And of that, 314 comes to the city to do planning work on the site pad.
This is the pass-through loan, John. Sorry to interrupt, right?
Yeah, there needs, maybe I missed that one. Thank you. There needs to be a public nexus, to come through the industrial park funding in order for the PG to receive that credit.
John, if I may, what I am ultimately tripped up on this whole contract is that it appears to be based solely on semiconductor use. And when we talk about Senate Bill 4, 2023, that specifically talks to the Oregon Law 2023, I believe, and Ashley's on here, hopefully she can correct me if I'm wrong, but it talks about specifically that this needs to be used for, as it was established for semiconductor industrial land program, which by statute restricts the forgivable loan amounts to the industrial loan projects intended for semiconductor. And when we start looking at semiconductor, what that terms or the definition is, semiconductor industry use means the use of property to A, construct, expand, or modernize a facility for the fabrication, assembly, testing, advanced packaging, or production of semiconductors or materials used to manufacture semiconductors or semiconductor manufacturing equipment, or B, conduct research and development with respect to semiconductors, materials used to manufacture semiconductors or semiconductor manufacturing equipment. So I guess for me, the core nexus of this whole agreement is that at any point, if we're found to be at default, so to speak, then the loan is not forgivable and we have an interest rate of 3.74 or whatever it was, 76. Is this going to be intended to be used for semiconductor? Because I can't see that for the foreseeable future. So are we starting this out just saying we're automatically going to not have $2 million forgiven? Like I'm super confused. I don't see us using this for semiconductor.
Yeah, and that's the importance of the site agreement to make that sure that's not a city obligation. I've read exactly what you're reading right there.
I don't understand though. That's what I'm stuck on, and maybe it's just me, and maybe people, the rest of the council, can help me get over this threshold here. But we're signing an agreement that it comes down to the forgivable amount of 2 million plus is going to depend on this being used for semiconductor, and we have no plans in the future to use it for semiconductor or things associated with it based on the definition. So I'm trying to understand, why would we sign this agreement when we know that, or it appears to me based on my knowledge as I sit here today, we have no intention to use it for semiconductor.
Yeah, and I've raised that very notion with Business Oregon and those concerns. What if it's not? And their comeback is that you're creating land ready for it.
But if you don't use it for that, you have to give reports out till what, 2030? And at any point, we could then go into the non-forgivable status, and then it resorts back to that interest rate of 3.74, right? Percent?
That PG would be on the hook for, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like somebody else to chime in, because I'll be honest, I'm lost on this one, John. I just can't get there on this. I need somebody to help me get over this threshold here.
Do we have Paul Vogel available?
I think the best person would be either, well, David Rubino for one, and then Melanie Olson, which is, those two have been talking over the last few days, and to address that concern.
I see the risk to the public possibly being saddled with this debt, because there's too many parts that we could fail on just by timing or whatever. And doesn't fit their scenario. And the contract is, I think, very risky for the public to take on that kind of debt, the possibility of that. And also the industrial site now with Arcadia there, the existing substation, they're going to need about 1/3 of what that substation can do. And then they also have that option on the balance of the majority of the industrial site. And I don't see where you'd use all that power for what is planned out there now in the future if everything goes through.
And we'd have to bring in transmission lines, correct? There'd have to be transmission lines brought in as well.
They would use the existing substation. Part of the reason this project, we're looking for funding to upgrade the existing substation, which is very old, of end of life, and PG doesn't really want to work on it. So they're looking for ways to build a new substation.
The other piece, John, that makes me uncomfortable currently is the fact that they're going to be acting as the project manager, meaning PGE. And I mean, if it says if there's any delays and we don't complete this within 3 years, that it's an unforgivable loan at that point too. So I feel like that's strange. It's like, to me, having, doing construction work under a different general contractor, and you're a general contractor, like, and you're putting yourself vulnerable to that. I'm concerned about that piece as well, unless I'm reading it incorrectly, but that's how I interpret this contract.
That is the reason that we put all waiting on the side agreement for PG to step in and be responsible for all the funding.
So John, is this contract, or what we're doing right now, is it premature? Because it seems like there's still some unanswered questions on what's sitting out there.
It is premature to move forward with spending any money, I believe. What we're risking here is if we don't obligate the funds, they're at risk to go back to the state, and then we don't have any resources to work on the substation at all.
So for me, it comes back to the semiconductor use. Like, to me, I feel like if we don't use it for that, based on what I'm reading, that we are then going to be exposing taxpayers to $2 million plus, right? So that for me is, if that is the caveat to like cross that Rubicon to vote, on this, and for me to move forward, if we know it's not going to be used for semiconductor for the definition, then I just don't even understand why we're moving forward at all. Like, the chance of us doing a semiconductor facility there based on what we have, that seems highly unlikely at this point. Like, did this start with Project Sprint, or?
Yes.
Okay, well, I just don't see semiconductor being here. That's what I'm struggling with. It's very explicit, it seems like, on the definitions and the use. If we're not going to use it, then why are we going to put ourselves at risk for $2 million?
Do we have a legal on the line that can speak to the city's possible liability?
Good morning, Mayor and councilors. I can hear, and I am here, and I can speak generally to the agreement and what the intent is. And basically the agreement is to facilitate, or the purpose of the substation is to facilitate the long-term development of the industrial park. And I think Mayor's comments are good in terms of, well, what is the long-term use? Under the agreement, it is intended, it sounds like, to be semiconductor use. But I think more clarity on that is needed as far as whether or not, if it's intended for the future, but it's not ultimately used for semiconductor use, is that still okay? Because this substation will be used to facilitate other industrial uses. But then moving to this side agreement that John is talking about, PGE has said that they are willing to put in this substation and to take on the obligation of having to potentially pay back the funds if the project is not completed, and if it's not completed, or if the state says you're not eligible for the project and somehow you didn't meet all the milestones, or it's not the intended use, and therefore the state tries to claw back the funds. PGE has expressed that that they will be on the hook for repaying those funds. The total project that's been the project budget is $14.9 million. And this loan, this financing is for the 3.2 million of it. If I think that there is a risk that the state claws back the money, and that's why the city is trying to move forward with entering into this agreement. There are some safeguards that the city could put in place to make sure that even if it decided to move forward now or in the near future, to protect it. So if the city was going to move forward, it could have the funds transferred and put into a separate account, and that those funds are not spent until there is this sub-agreement where PGE agrees to be responsible for any payback of those funds.
That I can go with.
So the way the financing works, it's a reimbursement based model, so we would have to take a draw from them. So there's no check other than the initial disbursement of 314. That's really the limited risk.
So if we hold the funds in an account while we enter in this agreement and we hold the funds, can we hold the funds? I guess that's the question I'm asking until we cannot.
The state, it's reimbursement.
So
Well,
it's going
the
through us?
agreement calls for it to be for 314,000 to be 324,000 to be dispersed upon execution of the agreement. So there is that amount of funds that would be dispersed to the city.
Sure. The bigger $2 million is all reimbursement.
So John, can you help clarify too, where we have the industrial business park right now, we have Arcadia, we have, maybe stuff on the horizon with them, like, is there an actual need for this substation for this industrial park, based on what we have right now?
Yeah, PG does not. They want a new substation there. It is end of life. They're doesn't meet any of the newer safety models.
So why are they coming back to the city for? Why don't they just replace it? It's their equipment. If they want a new model, why don't they come in and replace it? I have so many questions here.
Yeah,
on this.
It is a strange gift for sure on the state. So
When I was on the PUD, we built the Deer Island substation and the Betsy Johnson substation out of ratepayers funds, and we didn't get any monies from anything else. So PGE, they've got their ratepayers to build their infrastructure. So I don't see why we have to do it.
And then we don't have anything, even though I believe I heard Ashley say that it has been expressed that they will pick up this potential unforgivable default if it arises of the 2+ million, but we don't have that in writing either.
And we put that language in the contract.
So the agreement that is before you today is with the state of Oregon. And then this side agreement that John is talking about is an agreement that that it's between PG and the city. And that is for the construction of the substation, and that they agree that in the event the financing is required to be repaid, that they will repay those funds. Because the entire project budget is around 14.9 million, and PGE has agreed to pay for the entire project. They are happy to receive this forgivable loan from the state of Oregon, if that's the case, but they are saying that they commit to repay that the forgivable loan amount if the state of Oregon requests it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Ashley, and I appreciate the clarification. But like, I still come back to the fact this doesn't appear to be intended for semiconductor at all, as we sit here today. So, I mean, I get it. We could potentially put this in a holding account, but going into this, it's like they need to pay for all of it, because we're not going to be putting semiconductor there. I mean, I don't believe, I would love that, but I don't believe that we have the ability to put a semiconductor facility there. So the thought process of entering into this, I feel like is a bit disgenuine because that's going to be an automatic default of the forgiveness of that $2 million. And unless PGE is fully aware of that, I think, like I said, they're going to be on the hook for it, or we're going to be on the hook for it. I mean, our taxpayers, because it's not something that we're going to be doing. Does that make sense? I just feel like it's an automatic unforgivable loan that we're entering into right now.
It
with the
sounds
state.
like to me though that PGE is the one taking the risk, not the city. And so maybe I'm incorrect about that, but it sounds like PGE is the one, taking the risk there. And I think for years now, it's been my understanding that we don't have enough power in Columbia County, the county as a whole, to facilitate any type of industrial growth in the city, in the port, any of the industrial lands that we have available. So I believe that we really need this to move forward, and hope that PGE has a plan in place to allow more power to the county.
I agree with Council President Chilton. John, do you have anything to speak on? Can you speak on that? I mean, that's my confusion isn't necessarily like, I do see the need for it. I do think it's a good idea, but this whole thing with PGE, I guess I need more clarification on how it is that they are essentially on the hook for this. And it's just because my understanding is it's a pass-through loan. It goes to them. So we get the funds from the state. We give that to PGE. They develop the site, correct? I mean, that's the nuts and bolts of it, right?
That's a general. That's a general.
And I think what we're looking for is protection from like the blowback. I mean, if that doesn't happen, are we on the hook or is it PGE? I think that's where the concern is.
In my conversations with Business Oregon on that concern of the semiconductor use, they were still very confident that was acceptable, or getting the land ready for a potential use of makeup.
And I see that point. Yeah, I see. I mean, it seems like, okay, well, yeah, we're doing this to bring that sort of industry in, because if we don't have it, we can't.
But especially with the existing substation, its conditions.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so to recap, if we move forward with this, we could, one, make sure that there is something in an agreement in writing contractually with PGE that they will for certain take on that 2 million plus debt obligation, so our taxpayers don't have to do this if in fact it's found at default for not using it for semiconductor. So that's not really what we're speaking to today. We're just talking about the allocation of funds without the actual agreement to spend them. And then the second thing is well, I guess that's the main thing for me, is making sure that piece. But I mean, is that where we're at right now? Sounds like Ashley stated that we could enter into this pretty risk-free, is what I'm hearing, with direction to put it in an account so it's not being used in case it doesn't come to fruition.
Mayor, that is what I was saying, as far as if the city enters into this agreement with the state of Oregon, it can then make sure that funds are in a segregated account, and also make sure there's direction not to spend any of those that money, even on any pre-development or anything, until the PGE agreement is signed, and to have that discipline and commitment so that there is no risk if the city has to repay even those $324,000 back with interest, that it can do so without any harm to the city.
I mean, I'm good with that. I don't see any, if we can mitigate the risk, then I'm fine with that, just to secure the payments, me personally.
I'm as well.
Circling back to the beginning, I can appreciate the discomfort with this. And we did intend to have the PGE agreement rock solid in front of this, and then obligate, but looks like there's a risk of losing the funds if we don't act. So
And I would just request, John, that when this does come back around, that there is like really comprehensive explanation with the risk, probability, and severity of entering into an agreement to make sure we're protecting our taxpayers. So if it doesn't come to fruition, like all the questions we've asked today, I think it'd be pretty safe to say that the council would like to see it when it circles back around to make sure that we are covered. Are we ready to then move forward? Any other discussion? Counselor Sundin, we haven't heard from you. Would you like to weigh in?
No, I share a lot of your same concerns, so I'm good with Ashley's suggestion. I'd like to hear more about it in the future.
By the way, Ashley, thank you for being here.
You're welcome. It's nice to see all of you. Sorry
do
that
not
I'm
put-
not as present, but yeah.
I'm just going to say I'm not a fan of Zoom, by the way, at all. I like in-person meetings. Okay, so Council President Chilton, did you have any last words or anything like that before we move over to number 2?
No, I thought maybe it might be helpful to, catch you up to speed, Mayor, with some of the issues. If maybe you could join in on some of those conversations with PGE if you want to, I think that might be helpful. I've had several meetings with, PGE at county dinners and stuff and speaking with them. So I think it might be helpful for you to maybe sit down on some of those meetings and get caught up on what their plans are.
Yep, I think that that's a great idea. I have had a couple conversations. But, I think that there's always room to have more here, especially because I want to make sure that this is also something that's going to feed outside the business park. Okay, so if we're ready, we can move over to number 2. Does anybody have that agenda up that they would like to make a motion?
I don't.
Okay.
I do have the agenda up. I will make, geez, really?
I'm happy to read it if it makes it easier.
I got it here. I just, there's multiple, I think I've got it. There it is. Hold on. I will make a motion to approve and authorize for signature a financing contract with the Oregon Business Development Department for semiconductor industrial lands loan for the Castor Substation Design and Construction Project.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Councilor Sundin,
Aye.
Council President Chilton,
Aye.
Councilor Hubbard,
No.
okay, and Councilor Gunderson.
Aye.
Okay, and I am going to be an aye as well, just based on my confidence in Ashley and securing those funds. So I feel like that mitigated the risk for me for now. So I'm an aye as well. All right. We have anything else? Okay, well, this meeting is adjourned then. See ya.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You have a good weekend.
Thank you.